There are millions of e-commerce brands out there, but competitor-proof e-commerce brands, there's only a select few. You can probably count them on your main 5 fingers. So the question is then, how do you build a competitor-proof brand that no one else can copy, duplicate, or rip off? And so today I'm going to share what I call some secret sauce that I've been applying for almost a decade now. For those that don't know me, my name's Sasha, and I've spent almost a decade helping people to start and grow e-commerce brands. My clients have generated over $184 million in revenue. I've personally worked with over 3,000 founders and some of them scaling to tens of millions of dollars in sales. So this is coming from someone who has been in the trenches for a long time, and I've seen what works, and more importantly, I've seen what doesn't work. So by the end, you're gonna have a complete playbook on how you can build a non-copyable brand that lasts longer and makes it more difficult for people to win against you. So what is a competitor-proof brand? You see, a brand itself, it's not that valuable because brands are like a dime a dozen. They're everywhere these days. The most valuable thing you can have is a competitor-proof brand. So what does that even mean specifically? Does it mean having some secret product that no one else can make, or maybe copyrights, patents, trademarks, things that locks everybody else out of your marketplace? Look, it's none of that. A competitor-proof brand is one that customers choose even when there are hundreds of similar options, mainly because they feel something towards that brand. They trust it, they recognize it, they feel connected to it in a way that's very difficult to be copied. And that connection doesn't live in the product at all. It lives in the minds of the customers. And that's what makes it impossible to replicate. So, what makes it different from all of the other brands out there? Look, it starts with the mindset that you're never selling just a product, you're selling an identity, and that is what competitor-proof brands do. They become part of who you are as a person. You wear it, you show it off. It's a signal of who you are, and you'll stand for it and fight for it. As an example, that Stanley cup, you know, that big cup, that thing sells an identity, right? Girls everywhere, they love carrying that thing around like I'm a Stanley girl. The second difference is it's how they build relationships, because with most brands, it's just a transaction. You see something and you buy it, and that's the end of the story. But with a competitor-proof brand, the purchase is just the beginning, and it's the door that opens up something much bigger than that single transaction. The moment someone buys, they're pulled into a whole world. They have values, shared experiences that make them feel like they are part of this movement, something bigger than themselves. For example, customers of Nike often feel connected to the brand's just do it philosophy, the mindset, that whole athlete, like keep pushing forward and just do it. Now, the third difference is product versus status. A fan of a competitor-proof brand feels some kind of status in his social circles. He shows it off. He's proud of it, like car collectors showing off all of their luxury supercars or their luxury watches. But a regular fan, it's just another product out there. They may have bought it once from an ad, maybe because they thought it was cool, but it's really up in the air if they'll ever buy it again, or most importantly, if they'll ever tell anybody else about it. So now that you know the difference between normal brands and competitor-proof brands, the billion-dollar question is, how do you build a competitor-proof brand that no one else can copy? So all you have to do is you have to follow this 3-pillar playbook. I call them personally in all of my programs and communities the 3 S's: specificity, story, and then speed. The first pillar is specificity, because most brands, they try and speak to everybody. And this is why they get no one's attention, because no one feels like they're talking to them specifically. So you have to make your brand so specific that one type of person, when they encounter your message, when they encounter your adverts, when they encounter your landing pages, they feel as though it's built for them and them only. For example, if you run a skincare brand like I do, it should not be for people who like skincare and want good skin. It should be for the woman who refuses to let anyone else define what aging looks like for her. So the customer feels a genuine connection to you and your product. This also goes for content. Every ad, every product, every description on your landing pages, it should only speak to one person specifically, because specificity, look, it's a moat, right? A competitor, they can probably copy your product, but they cannot copy the relationship that your brand has with a specific type of person. If we look at some of Michael Porter's work, one of the greatest business strategists of all time, this specific focus point we're talking about here is called the focus strategy. It means niching down so deeply that no broad competitor can even touch you. And when you are hyper specific, you can service your customer better than anybody else. You build products specifically tailored to them. You create scripts and emails and experiences that feel like these were made just for me. And for an under-resourced founder, you don't have much money, you don't have much time, you have not much kind of skill sets. This is your biggest advantage because you don't need scale. You need one person that's served better than anyone else has served them. Now, specificity is good, it's unique, and it saves your brand from being copied. But you know what else can't be copied? Specifically, your story. I'm talking about your founder story. I don't care how much you're scared of jumping on there and taking videos. This second pillar is to use your founder story as intellectual property. It's the most defensible asset that you can build in your e-commerce brand because it cannot be bought out by a competitor, no matter how much money they have. You should have a story that people find, I would say, worth listening to. It shows that you're not just some random faceless brand that sells some products on the internet and hopefully people buy. This makes it very difficult for people to copy you because they can't copy your story. I'll quickly share mine here as an example. I personally was raised in a small country town called Laidley, Queensland. I came from an immigrant family and I was homeless between the ages of like 20 to 22, right? Not homeless like on the street, just homeless sleeping on friends' couches. I faced heaps of struggles in my early 20s. I lost about $480,000 to $500,000 to credit cards, debts, family, so many bad decisions that you can't even imagine. But I had a nothing to lose mentality through this process, which helped me to drive completely into a brand new industry with no idea of it. And it turned my first business, which was a automotive repair business, into a 7-figure venture within 18 months. And now, after a decade of moving out of that space and working with e-commerce founders, I've helped over 3,000 founders, generated over 184 million in revenue, and I've built this ecom capital community into a position where it's the biggest and the best in the Australian market that focuses on getting new founders from 0 to 100K a month. And so I use that story as my IP for brands because people relate to it. They can understand what it feels like to struggle, right? Someone who lost everything and then rebuilt it back up again. So you can build yours. And first things first, you need to start with a specific pain point, some struggle, some difficulty either you've experienced or you saw being experienced in the world, and show how you solve the problem before turning it into a business. Then share the failed attempts, no money, I struggled, the sleepless nights, all of those things, and then close the loop by showing how your product now transforms the customers the same way it transforms you or transformed you. And if you look at most popular brand owners, they had a story to tell. Steve Jobs, interesting story, right? Phil Knight, he did it with Nike, incredible story. I've got the book back there. Elon Musk, that guy's story is insane. Share your story everywhere, on your organics, in your emails, on your about us, in your packaging, in your ads. So when people connect with that story, they don't just become one-off customers. They start to become part of this movement, right? Now, a foundation story gives you this edge, but a competitor-proof brand can't just be a story and some specificity. It can make your brand unique, but not irreplaceable. For it, we need to bake in that third and that last pillar, which is my favorite, and it's speed. The reality of the e-commerce market is that giants in this space, they got massive budgets, huge deep pockets, way bigger distribution, and decades of brand equity. So if you try and compete with them on their terms, you'll absolutely lose. So instead of playing them at their game, you outpace them. In e-commerce, speed always wins the race, right? Because the competitor can see what's working for you and they can copy it. Maybe it's a launch that worked well for you, they can kind of copy that thing. But if you move faster than anyone else, the competition doesn't copy what worked for you, the competition copied your old scraps from 12 to 18 months ago. And your brand moat, the trust, the loyalty, the identity you've built through specificity and story makes it nearly impossible for them to compete, matched and complemented with speed. Speed is your protection mechanism as a founder. Focus on one person, build world-class experiences for that individual, and execute faster than anybody else. Look at the biggest players in your space and find the compromises they make. If they use cheap ingredients, go premium. If they chase mass appeal, go deep, 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 deep on one person. If they make big corporate campaigns, make UGC, raw, dirty, authentic content. They might be a faceless brand. You are a founder with a story and a mission. You move faster, and people love rooting for David versus Goliath, right? They love a brand that stands for something. They love the little guy, right? Especially if it stands for something that they already distrust and they feel like they can get alongside with. That underdog energy combined with speed is one of the most powerful advantages that a new brand has. And when you bake this into your landing pages, your email sequences, your packaging, and your social content, your customers should feel the difference between you and anybody else. So remember, those 3 S's, they're incredibly powerful when you bake each of them in to all the work you do. Specificity, nail it, one person. Story, use your own. And lastly, speed. That's how you build a competitor-proof brand that no one else can copy. So now that you know that anyone can launch a regular brand before breakfast, all they need is Wi-Fi, I don't know, some Pinterest boards and some ChatGPT or some AI to spin things up. The real asset is building something that is competitor-proof, so nobody can copy it. And look, we all know that no brand is 100% uncopyable, but you can make copying so expensive and so ineffective that people just give up trying. And this is exactly what I teach inside the Ecom Capital community. It's a private space where e-commerce founders from all over the world talk about brand building, retention, scaling their ads, and a whole bunch of other strategies to help build competitor-proof brands. So if you're also an aspiring e-commerce founder and you'd like some more help with some of these subjects we've covered inside of this video, head down below into the description of this video and you can see if you can find a time to schedule a call with our team about potentially getting some help with the problems that you might be solving for in your business. Head down below and I'll see you soon.